Hello, my name is Richard Chappell. I am an independent choreographer and artistic director of Richard Chappell Dance, which is a dance company based in Exeter that operates across the southwest of England and the rest of the UK. My class is orientated around my choreographic practice and process, so it's designed to open and stretch the body organically, connecting to the tissue and myofascial lines in the body and expansive kind of full-bodied qualities to support dancers to transition from kind of warming up and preparing for quite a vigorous day of rehearsals to into a place where their creativity and choreographic contribution and co-authorship towards work kind of shines through. So it's about physically pushing the body through kind of practical mechanical movement drills into moving more expansively and creatively to apply those steps to, or that form to something more explorative and personalized to each dancer. So I think the most important thing when approaching this class is it's for you, it's for the space that you're in, and it's to ensure that your dancing for that day is stemming from a creative and highly physical place. So take from it what you need in whatever way you need. So we're going to start really gently by just connecting to the folds in our legs. So I have 3 folds in my legs that I'm going to draw attention to in this class. The first one is through the fronts of the ankles. The second one is the backs of the knees. And the next one is the hip flexors. So I'm going to really gently just soften into those places. And when I use the word spongy legs, that's kind of what I mean. I mean that kind of soft, kind of gentle place that I can be quite buoyant in. Soft knees, soft ankles, soft hips, soft folds. And this is going to be my starting place. So really soft, and just gently I'm going to pass my weight softly from left to right. As I do that, I can start to feel my arches lift out of the floor. I can feel the pressure through the big toes and the heels, so that I'm nice and kind of starting to articulate and gently wake up my toes. From here, I'm just going to really start gently draw attention to mobilizing the right shoulder. So it's nothing too intense just to start with. I'm just going to kind of move the bone in the shoulder joint just to feel that very clear range first thing in the class. Gently kind of feeling its drop, feeling its rise, seeing how kind of exploring that soft range can relate to the weight placement in the feet. From here, I'm going to allow my elbow to just gently float in space. So I'm articulating through my shoulder, my elbow is floating in the room, and I can feel the weight of my arm kind of being held through my body in the air and space around me. It's really soft. I'm not forcing any kind of stretch just yet. I'm just thinking about elbow in space, perhaps kind of drawing lines, drawing curves, feeling how that relates to the range in my shoulder. You can allow your eyes to wander, start to see the space that you're in, and see how wandering your eyes, floating your elbow in the room, and shifting the weight gently on your feet allows you to kind of have a gazing vision. See your sky, see your floor. You can see your body. And then we're going to gently kind of add our fingertips into this motion. So to start with, it's just going to be about sending. I'm going to send my fingertips into places in space. It might be directly, like sending out of a body in a line. It might be an arc that reaches you somewhere. And as I do this, I can just start to feel a gentle kind of expansion out of my shoulder, as if I'm kind of being gently pulled apart No tension in the deltoid or the arm. It's very soft. It's got a very yawning sensation. Feel free to kind of yawn as you do it. And we can just start to kind of engage a little bit of creativity and perhaps what our decision making is here. The elbow might lead you, the fingertips might lead you. And we can start to allow our spine to perhaps match the articulation through the arm. You might be arcing and opening through the chest bone. You might be curling the solar plexus, kind of arcing forwards to find a connection between your fingertips and the top of your head. Perhaps it might be sequential, perhaps the fingertips might lead and then the eyes follow. Or it might be both together to find that gentle arcing quality. So I'm really oiling, expanding, and stretching. From here, I'm going to gently send my fingertips up towards the sky, and I'm going to hold quite a long position, as if I'm hanging on a bar. From here, I'm going to keep my legs nice and soft, so I'm not locking them, but I am kind of pushing my feet into the floor, and I'm going to softly expand through my armpit and lengthen up towards the sky, feeling that gentle pull. This is a funny sensation, so you might feel the blood kind of all draining down from your arm. That's a purposeful thing. So just feel that lengthening. And as you're stretching, I want you to feel a connection between your fingertip all the way diagonally across your body into the floor, pressure through opening the soles of your feet through the left leg. So it's a diagonal stretch. To do that, you might want to gently send the arm backwards and feel that opening. Keeping the arm up, resisting the temptation to drop it, I'm just going to softly let my head kind of be involved in that motion. So it's really gentle. Let your head kind of just sail to different places. Maybe it's forwards, maybe it's backwards. And see how that opens the shoulder. Right now, we're stretching and opening the shoulder. That's the objective for what we do later on. And we're going to gently let go of that. Feeling all the blood kind of sail back into your arm. It's a funny sensation. And we're just going to let that be nice and loose. So just start to take some steps in the space. Feel how your arm feels differently. Maybe it's a bit softer. Maybe it's a bit more expansive, a bit more stretchy. It's going to be really helpful for later on. Nice. Last little task that we do whilst we're moving and stretching through this is just to the idea of dropping. So just finding a little bit of weight through your arm. Could be absolutely any direction. And letting that slowly disappear into nothing. And we're going to softly repeat that on the other side. So just take a moment to kind of register your lack of symmetry in the openness of your body. Probably your right arm is quite mobile and your left arm feels kind of different. Acknowledge that, because our bodies are never physically symmetrical. So this is a chance for us to kind of connect to how we can expand in certain places and what our bodies need, which is different every day. Let's come to the left shoulder. And again, tuning into the folds through the legs, softening. Perhaps it's a chance now just to articulate the toes a little bit more, lift through the center of the arches a little bit more to feel that kind of nice sponginess. And again, starting really softly, just mobilizing through shoulders. Really practical. Even after we've just moved a little bit more physically, this is a chance to be really practical now. So take time to register that. We will go full-bodied very soon. So this is the time just to tune in. finding gentle range through circling, finding an arc and a fold. And again, starting really softly with just a very weightless elbow, holding your arms in space, floating the elbow, articulating it to different places in the body. Feeling that gentle kind of floating, weightless, but also weighted contradiction. Our body is heavy, our arms are heavy, and as dancers we're trying to keep them soft or keep them expansive. So sometimes we want to be light and heavy at the same time. From here, we can just start to let the fingertips send. Again, finding that gentle articulation, shifting backwards, shifting forwards. Try to keep your feet rooted into the ground so that you can kind of allow that exploration to be limited for now. Start to play with different levels of expansion, perhaps there's opportunity to see sky, opportunity to see the corners of the space. Think of areas that you as a dancer don't normally visit. Maybe it's the space behind you, the space in between your feet, the space directly above you. And from here, I'm just going to gently encourage that kind of longer, sweeping, arcing sensation to really spiral, reach and expand, oiling through the body, feeling how the spine curves, adds definition to what you're choosing to do with your arm. And then from here, very softly, we're going to find our way to standing. To reaching and expanding far away up. And whilst we're being more minimal with the rest of the body, it's important to kind of still tune into it, feel its activation, feel its resting place, and how that's useful for the body. And we're trying to relieve any tension from the deltoid area. So this is expansive, it's stretchy, it's not about locking into that shoulder too much. Make sure you're breathing. And make sure you're gently kind of expanding the body across the front, all the way through that diagonal, all the way down, lengthening. From here, I'm just going to gently guide the head to different places, gently backwards, gently forwards. Feeling that clear, soft reach and expansion. See how stretching and lengthening the tissue through the neck affects the fingertips sailing up towards the sky. Really embrace all that blood draining and sending to different locations in the body. And then from here, really softly, we're going to let the arm drop. And again, super light moving, just starting to see how that kind of softer, stretchy quality can just allow you to shift softly in the space. It's nothing too intense just yet. Then we're going to continue this, but we're going to kind of come to both arms, and it's just going to start to track the room. Perhaps your fingertips are connected in the same point in space. Perhaps they go in opposition. You might choose to switch to elbows and think about where your elbows are in space in relation to each other. You might think about where your fingertips are in space, feeling the air kind of swim through your fingertips. And finally, we're thinking about the folds through our legs, softening through our hips, softening through our knees and our ankles. And again, it's really important to do whatever practically you need. If you're a bit unsure, feel free to copy me. But your version of sending the fingertips into the space, your version of thinking about how your elbows connect in the room might be different to mine. And that's totally yours. Good. We should start to feel a little bit more lengthened and stretched now. So we're going to move on to a few practical things just to activate the spine and the knees. So the next thing we're going to do is just tune into the vertebrae in our spine to oil and articulate those places. So I'm going to start really, really simply. I'm just going to take the motion from the top of my head, and I'm just going to gently curl, again, soft legs, gently over, and it's just a really, really soft ripple, just to gently kind of connect through the spine, curling and reaching through the top of the head. From here, I'm going to really gently kind of start to activate through the soles of my feet. So I'm spreading my toes, I'm opening my heart towards the sky. And I can start to expand and reach a little bit further backwards in space, trying to avoid any tension in the neck, lifting through the lower back so the lumbar spine isn't folding, but just starting to reach past my center with my torso forwards and backwards. Last few times, just to feel that oil, feel that opening. And then from here, I'm going to do one last one, perhaps getting slightly smaller, just to gently stop that motion. We're then going to reverse that, so I'm going to start with a really gentle plie, just softening through the knees, articulating upwards through the chest, coming forwards to here. This is a little bit like a motion of being sick. Really kind of a throat and mouth last, I guess, but I want to really connect my knees to my tummy, to my shoulders, to my neck, to my head. This is a really useful motion for a lot of the floor work that we will do in places later on. This idea of legs activating and body following. And again, I'm being really conscious not to collapse in my lumbar spine. Last time, feeling that articulation. From here, I'm going to gently just make my feet slightly wider. And I'm going to start this almost cycling sensation. So again, really soft knees, feeling that gentle kind of drop into the knees, making sure they're going over the center of the feet, so I'm not dropping or sinking in my knees. It can give me a bit of a injury. I'm through the center of my feet, feeling that right to left massage. From here, I'm going to allow that to gently sink into the pelvis, so all of this area is connected and soft. And from here, I'm just going to gently start to wave my spine. So I might send gently laterally to the right, and gently laterally to the left. For now, you don't need to be too strict with it. Let the top of your head kind of arc and lead this motion. Each time you might oil to find a little bit more drop or a little bit more support through the legs. Again, connecting to those folds, not holding too much tension to find that hold. It's nice and simple, nice and soft. From here, we're going to continue that arc and just see if we can find a little bit more detail through the center of the spine, and through the drop, through the pelvis. You might see the sky through the chest. You might arc to reach completely sideways. It's your own little journey. And then from here, I'm just going to really gently soften, let that go, keep the legs nice and gently pliced. And I take a soft inhale, bringing energy out of the floor. I exhale, I open forwards. Open palms of the hands, sinking through the hips, expanding out, long stretched, star-shaped goodness. And exhale. Inhale, energy out of the floor. Exhale, opening, softening downwards. Inhale. Exhale. Last time, inhale. Exhale. Good, guys. I lengthen outwards, and I'm just going to really softly bend the legs, folding through the spine, hands to the floor. And just take a little moment to sink into the hips. Feel the hip sockets kind of be a little bit more compressed. And I'm just going to very, very gently take myself over to my right leg and lengthen into a soft lunge. Just feeling that gentle stretch, lengthening through the top of the head, through the left hip, all the way to this ending heel. From here, I'm going to gently open upwards. And I'm going to very, very softly spiral to shift my weight into my center. And again, gentle compression. Shifting to the side, gentle stretch. Lengthening nice and far away through the fingertips. And sending softly along. Finding the center. Gently stretching here, releasing through the legs. Making sure there's no tension in the back of the neck, just softly hanging. And gently bending the legs to roll up. So now that we've kind of focused on articulating our spines and articulating and expanding our arms, we're going to use those as ways to come in and out of the ground. A lot of my choreography is looking at how dancers kind of send into the floor and send out of the floor, and this way of expanding through the arms and the torso and articulating the spine and the folds through the legs is all really relevant to that. So we're going to start it really, really gently with improvisation, and then we're going to do some practical crossing exercises across the room, which are mechanical things to work on together. Starting really, really simply though, we're going to step. We're going to find different reaches, different waves through our spine or our hands, and we're going to use that to soften into the floor and out. So I start really gently with just shifting through the feet, feeling nice and mobile. It doesn't really matter what size room you're in. Explore going to the outside edges of that space. You might walk forwards, you might walk backwards. Whatever you're doing, make sure your toes and your heels follow the lines of your knees. So that it's not really about finding a parallel position, it's more about a directness of energy and way that you're going through your hips, through your toes, just to find that articulated way of moving. My upper body can be quite relaxed, my head's really sailing towards the sky, so I've got quite a long spine, but I'm not locked. My arms are loose, my shoulders are loose, my ribs are loose. I've got a sense of verticality, but it's not too presented. From here, I can just start to allow my fingertips to reach out to different places and just start to feel the difference between how you did that earlier. Your spine is a little bit more active. Your legs might be a little bit warmer. And we're going to start to let our fingertips really reach out into the space. From here, my spine can start to articulate into this as well. Dipping, curling, reaching, coming back to the pelvis. And that might start to let me connect to the floor, whatever that might be for you. It's really soft to start with. Doesn't need to be anything too intense. Nice and gentle, feeling that articulated. Soft connection to the ground. Always using the spine to kind of find those connections. Backwards, forwards, sideways. To find different places into the floor. Last few moments to explore this. And then gently letting that subside. Cool. We're going to do some very soft crossing exercises now, just to connect our arms and legs together. So the idea is to do practical exercises that allow us to shift the weight evenly between our feet and our hands. Just bring the hands to the floor. If this is challenging for you, kind of to have that gentle stretch through the hamstrings, feel free to bend your legs, that's absolutely fine. But I'm going to send my hands a little bit forwards, and I'm going to relax my body here. My hands are going to step where my feet get to them. So it's a gentle swap. I feel that nice, stretchy release. Toes connect with the backs of the wrists. Pelvis is nice and long. Feel that lengthening reach. From here, we can start to feel the difference. Every time you leave the floor, feel the activation through the arms, feel the weight bearing, and feel how it changes your body each time you pause and each time you start again. That's really important because they're short journeys, so it's about feeling your own recalibration in between each one. We continue again, this time the same one. This time feel as if someone is pulling your pelvis backwards, so you can start to feel that lengthening and stretch all the way through the arms, similar to what we did standing up. The next one we're going to do is nice and simple. Again, it's a crawling one, last crawling one that we do. We want to relax our shoulders, feel that push through our shoulders, and our knees are going to be just off the floor, and we step in opposition. So it's a real, we don't want to put too much force into our arms, we're sinking, and it becomes work through our legs, and a bit solidly through our arms, but not too much in our center. It's not a big plank. It's a bit more cat-like than that. So a gentle crawl. The knees always stay just off the floor. Feeling that support, that lightness. And then when we go back the other way, we're going to see if we can go a little bit slower. If your room is larger, or if you want to repeat things or do them again, feel free to pause the video. A little bit slower. Feeling those moments where there's a hand and a foot off the floor and how the body balances. Great. From here, I'm going to let go of that. I'm going to think of the top of my head arcing through the body. So I relax my torso, top of my head sends, toe sends, softly connects me. Top of my head, toe, there. Head leads, toe leads. Head leads, toe leads. Again, the other way. Finding that gentle link through all the work that we did standing up. Head sailing, toe sailing. Opening through the neck, opening through the hip. Great. We're going to continue doing these loops. So the first one we do, I wrap my right leg in front of my left leg, and I reach with my right hand. As I reach with my right hand, I step towards the side, and my pelvis takes me in this journey, similar to the ripple from pelvis that we did earlier. My pelvis takes me forwards, articulates, spirals, sends down. Forwards, articulates, spirals, sends down. I'm stepping onto my toes, so I'm finding this middle ground place, and then I'm stepping solidly to the balls of my feet to rotate me to support. Again, I'm going to continue the other way, articulating. This is my time to activate and work my toes as well as my arms. We're going to go back. This time we're going to have a little bit more lightness to this. So I'm going to send a little bit higher through my pelvis with a little bit more spring. And again, the other way, a little bit more spring. Good. The final one we do, we're going to incorporate a little bit of expansion and a little bit of stretch through this in this loop. So I start with my pelvis, my hand sends out, I reach really far out, my hand sends to the side. From here I articulate around, I soften into a gentle lunge, fingertips send towards the sky, fingertips send down, soft spiral, legs wrap, feet wrap, pushing through the hand to go to the other side. Finding that lunge, arms up towards the sky, twist, hands send into the floor for safety, wrapping around, sending to the other side, opening, other side. Fingertips spiraling, arcing, other side. Last time. We're going to continue to do that one more time. This time we're going to do it with a little bit of weight, a little bit of drop, a little bit of speed. Hopefully we're nice and warm now. We've worked through our legs, we've worked through our arms, stretched and expanded. So I'll show you once through, and then we can do it together. I expand and arc, I swing, maybe there's a gentle hop to it. I have a little bit more rotation. Other side. You can take a bit of time by yourself to kind of pause the video and find that mechanic for yourself if you want to, and then we'll continue on to our next one. The next one we're going to do is now just focusing on weight bearing on the hands and opening through the palms of the hands to lengthen and put the pelvis above the head. So it starts really, really simply. I'm just going to softly take my hands to the side. I'm going to send my pelvis up, and I'm going to step. So it's really gentle to start with. Just feeling that soft expansion, hands to hips. If you're in a small room, you can do one to the right and one to the left, or two and then two, or you can cross the room like I'm doing now. We're going to go back, and this time I'm going to send my knees slightly up. Knees slightly up. All the time I'm making sure I'm breathing, and if you find yourself holding too much tension, you can just take a moment to soften and articulate your ribs. We're trying to be gentle with our feet into the floor. And then the last one we do coming back, we send the toes slightly higher. Back the other way. Nice, guys. We're going to continue back. This time we're going to follow a really gentle pattern with our feet. So I arc forwards, I step. I arc forwards, and I step. That's the pattern. With my hands, I send into the floor from bent legs. Soft passing of weight, pelvis low to the floor, finding that gentle articulation. As we go back, we can start to find a little bit more air time on the hands by sending the pelvis a little bit higher above the head. So I'm really stacking my vertebrae from my head to my pelvis. To do that, I want to think of putting pressure gently through the middle finger, the thumb, and the pinky. And then I'm lifting, a little bit like I might lift up my metatarsals to articulate them. I lift up that place, almost like a suction. So I'm here, hands lengthen, soften. Hands lengthen, soften. We're going to gently find the other pattern now. So I'm going to go gently backwards, foot backwards. And you can see my body is kind of finding that sequential quality. I'm going back, hips are going, ribs are going, head is going. Toes, hips, ribs, head. Toes, hips, ribs, head. I'm finding that pattern, opening through my shoulders, opening through my hands and my toes and my hips. Great. This might be a good opportunity for me to show a version, if you're in a smaller space, where we can loop this to go from one side to the other. So I might go this way, and then I might go with the same leg, sending back the way that I came. And just to even out, we can find that on the other leg. Now you're kind of getting accustomed to the motion of it and perhaps the mechanic of it. We can again send the pelvis a little bit higher, find that lengthening and that stretch and expansion through our shoulders to find a little bit more suspension. Last time. Good. Last one we're going to do is really, really simple. Again, it's going to connect to the work we did through fingertips and reaching, what we did earlier. But it's going to be a spiral, and it's going to lead to a slightly more expanded balance through the hands and the feet. So I start really, really simply. The pattern through my hands is I spiral around my body. So I spiral around my body, my fingertips send in opposition, I find the diagonal. I spiral around my body, fingertips send in opposition, I find the diagonal. That's what my hands do. My feet, I step in the direction that I'm sending, my head involves itself in that spiral, comes to here. I step, my head involves itself in that spiral, and I come to here. So when I'm practicing this, I want to let my back leg be really loose and almost not think about it so it gets left behind. That's my physicality. I'm not making a shape with it. It's very relaxed, it's very heavy. Let's put all of those things together. So fingertips send, head sends, lengthening, fingertips send, head send. Great. So now we're going to connect those things together to find a little bit more of an entrance into the floor and out of the floor in between those motions. So I'm going to start traveling to my left shoulder first and sending with my right fingertip. So left shoulder and head sends, fingertip connects to the floor, hands send down, fingertips to floor, soften, spiral, fingertips, soften, spiral, fingertips, arc, soften, arc. Last two times, finding that detail, sailing, stretching all the way through the space. Lovely, guys. The final thing we're going to do now is just to have a little improvisation. I'll play one song in the background, and we'll start to explore all that we've done today. We've had contact with the ground through work through the hands. We've had expanding, reaching. We've had thinking about the elbows, the folds through the legs, the articulation through the spine. So we're going to find all of those things and just play for a little bit of a moment with that. You can go with this at your own pace. You might go really, really vigorously. You might think a little bit more softly to connect to some of the mechanics that we've done. It's your needs and what you want to push with. We start thinking perhaps gently connecting to some of the earlier things we did, but using them as ways to connect to the floor. So maybe I'm using my elbows to send me down into ways, into the floor. It could be absolutely anything. anything that we've done today can be included in this in different directions. You could find moments to go really slowly, or moments to go a little bit quicker. Remember to breathe and let go of any weight. Really swing to different parts of the room. You could also explore things on the spot. Think about how on the spot you can be through different things that we might have done in the class. Gently expanding through those places. So we're going to keep this rigor going, whatever that might mean for you. Keeping the connection through the steps, through the fingertips, motion that we found in different parts of the class. See what that might lead you to find. Through the body, through the elbows, through suspending, catching. And we're going to really softly now draw attention to the elbows and find a lightness and a gentle sense of floating and folding through the space, arcing, reaching through the arms. Finding that connectivity into the room. From here, I'm going to gently float, softer, connecting to the folds through the legs. Soft chest, soft fingertips, wandering eyes. Whatever this means to you, you can close your eyes if you want to. You don't have to look at what I'm doing so much here. From here, I'm going to let that gently come underneath myself with my feet. So I'm stepping less. I'm still expanding, I'm still floating with my arms, still articulating and softening the spine. But I'm going to very slowly come to a little bit less moving, a little bit more folding and softening. And from here, I'm going to gently just let my arms float to the side and expand outwards, filling that scale and space in the body and how that's probably different to the beginning of the class. And we're just going to take a few gentle reaches into the space just to finish off. Connect to that slow motion body. Connect to that gentle opening and shift of weight and expansion through the feet. Last few times, up towards the top diagonals now. And then I'm going to gently close my eyes and let my arms very, very slowly lower, top of the head sailing towards the sky. And when my arms find the bottom, I'm going to completely relax them, let them completely give to gravity. And I'm going to take a moment just to soften, tune in with your body, feel the warmth, feel the heat, feel the top of the head sailing towards the sky. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes to connect with the rest of the room. Okay, thank you so much. I hope that was a nice start to your day or middle of your day. And I hope that this was helpful for your practice and for your moving. It's something that can be repeated. It's something that you can approach very differently each time. And feel free to approach it with a complete adaptation if you want to. These are the building blocks for you to then try your own versions, to try your own shapes, your own kind of way of orientating yourself to this practice that is useful for your dancing and your body. So yeah, thank you very much.